Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're taking a look at the global pulse, a really close look. We've got a stack of sources here. The top 10 global headlines from, well, last 12 hours or so as of Thursday, August 14th, 2025. And our mission really is to go beyond just the headlines. We want to find the threads connecting these things that might seem separate, help you understand what's actually shaping our world right now. Think of it as your shortcut to being genuinely well informed.
Okay, let's unpack this because, wow, right away you see these two big themes jumping out, global economics and geopolitics. So let's maybe start with the economic news. Some of it seemed, well, almost positive, like trade tensions easing up a bit. That felt like a welcome sign. We saw the U.S.-China tariff truce that's been extended by 90 days. Now, this agreement between Washington and Beijing, it does seem to significantly ease those fears of, another trade conflict flaring up. And what's interesting is how it kind of sets the stage, right, for other big things happening globally, like that upcoming U.S.-Russia summit on Ukraine we're hearing about.
Does this truce feel, I don't know, like a real shift? Or is it more just kicking the can down the road?
That's a really good question. The market's reaction, it gives us some hints. What's fascinating here is just how fast that optimism spreads. We saw Japan's Nikkei hitting a record high, for instance. That wasn't just out of the blue. It was like fueled by strong tech earnings, a weaker yen, but also, those easing trade tensions we just talked about. So short term, it definitely feels like a bit of breathing room for certain sectors. And that optimism carried over into energy markets too. Oil prices rose on the back of this truce news. Brent crude, the international benchmark, climbed about 0.4%. That was also helped by hopes around that U.S.-Russia summit, plus growing talk about a Fed rate cut coming soon. But here's where it gets a bit more, shall we say, complicated for oil. We also saw Saudi Arabia raise its oil price specifically for Asian markets. Now, that move actually goes against what OPEC plus the big oil producer group, was trying to do regain market share. So now you've got major buyers like China and India actively looking for oil outside OPEC plus. That definitely shakes things up.
Right. So this broad optimism on one hand, but then these specific strategic, almost counter moves happening within sectors like oil. And if we link this back to the bigger monetary policy picture, it's clear that markets are really watching for Fed rate cuts. That's pushed the dollar down to nearly a 2-week low. And hey, for anyone watching, crypto Bitcoin surged again, a fresh all-time high, above $124,000 apparently, all tied into these hopes of easier money policy. But is it all good news? Because I also spotted that headline about Thyssenkrupp, the German industrial giant. They're slashing their outlook because of trade woes. What's that tell us?
Exactly. That's the other side of the coin, isn't it? The nuance. While some sectors are definitely cheering Thyssenkrupp cutting its revenue and investment forecasts, well, it's citing slowing global trade, the fallout from earlier tariffs. It really shows that not everyone is out of the woods just yet. If we connect this to the bigger picture, it suggests that while a truce brings immediate relief, maybe a market bounce, the underlying problems, the sort of structural issues and leftover damage from past trade fights, they don't just disappear overnight. It's a very mixed picture still.
So what does this all mean for you listening? It means that the global economic scene right now is this really dynamic blend. You've got optimism, yes, but also these strategic shifts and these ongoing challenges that hit different industries differently, whether you're looking at tech stocks or watching gas prices or just noticing things feel different in the supply chain. The ripple effect from just one trade truce can set off a whole chain reaction across continents. It creates winners and losers, You really need to look at the whole board.
Okay, so we've touched on how economies are reacting, but often these economic shifts are really tied to the geopolitical chess game that's always being played. And that brings us straight to some pretty critical diplomatic moves happening right now. A big one is that upcoming meeting between Zelenskiy and Starmer. This is happening before the Trump-Putin summit. Ukraine's president meeting the UK Prime Minister in London. The goal seems clear: rally European support before those big US-Russia talks. It really highlights how interconnected all these diplomatic efforts are, doesn't it?
But then, like a splash of cold water, you see the news about Russian cities hit by Ukrainian drone attacks. Drones striking 2 cities, wounding at least 16 people, according to Russian officials. What does that pairing tell us about conflict versus diplomacy right now?
It really underscores the sheer complexity. While that U.S.-Russia summit is obviously a huge focal point for global diplomacy, we even saw it affecting trade optimism, remember. These drone attacks are a stark reminder that the diplomacy is happening during an active, ongoing conflict. It raises a really important question, too, about how priorities shift in different places. It's not just about those big high-profile summits. For example, look at Asia. We've got a potentially major development there. India and China are discussing resuming border trade, After a 5-year halt, they're actually negotiating restarting overland trade of domestic goods. That could signal a significant thaw in what's been a very tense relationship. It shows new diplomatic channels might be opening up elsewhere, even as other conflicts grind on.
Wow. It truly is a complex global stage, isn't it? This really delicate dance between trying to talk, trying to find diplomatic solutions, and these persistent, sometimes violent conflicts. It just shows how one move over here can ripple out and affect players in regions way over there. And, while we've focused a lot today on what governments and markets are doing, it's always important to remember that global reality is also shaped by, well, forces of nature, things beyond our control. These can have huge ripple effects too. And on that note, we saw Tropical Storm Padul disrupting southern China, schools closed, transport affected.
Exactly. And while the immediate impact is localized, an event like Padul can quickly snarl global supply chains. It can influence commodity prices, maybe even divert government attention and resources away from other things. It's just another powerful reminder, really, of how many different, sometimes unpredictable factors feed into this huge, interconnected global story we're trying to follow.
We have definitely covered a lot of ground in this deep dive. From those big shifts in the global economy, trade deals, truce extensions, to the complex geopolitical maneuvering, the diplomatic talks, the ongoing conflicts, and even these regional disruptions, like the storm.
And if you really step back and connect the dots, what's truly striking is how these headlines that seem so different, a trade truce here, a stock market high there, a diplomatic meeting, a tropical storm, they're all actually deeply interwoven. They're part of a single, constantly evolving, and often pretty volatile global narrative. It's not just that they're linked. It's often that it, in one area can amplify or sometimes dampen the effects somewhere else entirely. It really forces you to take that wider view to try and anticipate the next ripple. So as you go about your day, maybe keep an eye out. What other unexpected connections might you spot linking events around the world?